Hello there, my name is Hideout and welcome to the Pantheon, and today I'm going to be Batman and we're going to fight against Anyway, a joke from about 10 years ago there that isn't actually all that funny. But Bane, Lord of Darkness, is a 4-mana 5/2 god. As long as your life total is less than or equals to half your starting life total, Bane, Lord of Darkness, has indestructible, so he just can't be killed. He's a big muscular fella. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, target opponent may have you draw a card. If you don't, you may put a creature card with equal or lesser toughness from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, I wish to God you could just choose whether you drew a card or not, but you're going to have to use, your personality and sort of manipulate your opponents to get exactly what you want. That's the sort of downside of this, but I'm going to build around it as if it always happens, because you can make deals with people. You can say, oh look, I've got a card in my hand that'll really help you out, and then use it to absolutely devastate them. Or, you draw some cards. Either one is really good. And you know what is good? This channel. Look at it. It's wonderful, isn't it? Join me. Join the legions of followers. And we'll have a look at some other Commander cards. But, come along. Without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5 for Bane. And in at number 5, we've got Bloodghast. Now, when I'm sacrificing these creatures and then putting other creatures in, I'm basing everything around having 1 toughness. It's a nice little build around to go for, and it means that whenever something dies, we're always going to have something else to put in. So everything I'm going to look at, apart from 1 or 2 cards, are going to have 1 toughness. And Bloodghast is a repeatable way of sacrificing and putting things into play. 2-mana 2/1, Bloodghast can't block. It has haste as long as your opponent has 10 or less life, and landfall, so whenever a land enters the battlefield, return it from your graveyard to your battlefield. We keep sacrificing this and then keep putting things in, or alternatively keep drawing cards. Not the worst downside in the world, but this card, fantastic. To go along with it, we've also got Nim Devourer, a card that I have looked at for ages and I've never found a place for it, but I think it fits this deck really well. 5-mana 4/1. Hey, it gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So if you're playing Treasures or Artifact Ramp, which you probably will be doing, it's going to get bigger. But the main reason I include it, double black, return it from a graveyard to play. Then sacrifice a creature. Play this ability only during your upkeep. So you want to get this into your graveyard and constantly bring it back and then constantly sacrifice it to put other things from your hand into play, or, draw cards. So a really awesome card that doesn't see much play and I think fits amazingly. Then we've got the Nether Traitor, 2-mana 1/1 haste shadow, so it can only be blocked by creature with shadow, and only block creature with shadow. Whenever another creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay a black. If you do, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. So another great way of cycling through cards, constantly drawing cards, constantly sacrificing this, or constantly putting other creatures into play. Then we've got the Blood-Soaked Champion, 1 black for a 2/1 Human Warrior. Can't block, and you can raid it, so you can return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. Active visibility only if you attack with a creature this turn. Now, hopefully our commander is going to be a 5/2 indestructible, so we're going to be swinging in quite a lot there, and this, good card to have. Then we've got the Clattering Augur, a bit slower here, 2-mana 1/1, and it can't block, but when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Very good. And the downside is the return ability. The 4 mana returns it to your hand, so you have to recast it, but not the end of the world in my opinion. Then we've got a Persistent Specimen. Lots of Skellingtons going on here. Jack Skellington is out doing his work. 1 black for a 1/1. When it pay 3, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. Tapped. Perfect. And then to finish off, a classic. I remember playing this when I first started playing Magic and just thinking, how could I ever possibly stop this card? It just keeps coming back. 2-mana 1/1 Reassembling Skellington. Pay 2, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Absolutely fantastic. And there you go, a lot of ways to keep bringing 1 toughness creatures back into play, which our commander will use to put other things into play. And at number 4, let's have a look at some ways of sacrificing those creatures, because it's all well and good getting them onto the field, but we want some sacrifice outlets. And Carrion Feeder is a fantastic one. Single black for a 1/1, it can't block, and we can sacrifice a creature, put a 1/1 counter on Carrion Feeder. So the great thing is this is going to keep growing, and it can even sacrifice itself. So if you need to put something in straight away, it's a single black, sacrifice it to itself. Maybe we draw a card, maybe we put something into play. Wonderful card, absolutely incredible. Then we've got the Loyal Retainers, which is a 3-mana 1/1. We can sacrifice it to return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activated ability only during turn before attackers are declared. So this is a nice 1/1 that we can sacrifice to itself, and to get a wonderful effect. Maybe we can return a Shieldred, maybe an Elish Norn, which helps all our 1/1s get buffed up. So many things that you could do with this card, and it sacrifices itself. Then we've got the Apprentice Necromancer, 2-mana 1/1 zombie wizard. Pay a black, tap it, and sacrifice it. So we're going to get a trigger off this to put something in or draw a card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature gains haste at the beginning of the next end step. Sacrifice it. Wonderful. Then, very similarly, we've got the Bone Collar Cleric. 2-mana 2/1, pay 4 and sacrifice it. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcerer. I wish that was instant speed, it'd be so much better, but it's good enough as it is. Then, just some general sacrifice outlets. Here we've got Ashnod's Altar, 3-mana artifact, sacrifice a creature, add double colors to your mana pool. Ooh. Seems like that'd lead to some combos, and you're right, it does. Altar of Dementia is also phenomenal. 2-mana for an artifact, sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard. So we could potentially mill our opponents out, but we're playing quite a graveyard-centered deck, so I'd maybe point those mills at ourselves, get something to really bring back. Then we've got Attrition, an incredible sacrifice outlet. 3-mana enchantment, pay a black, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-black creature. You'd be shocked at how well this can control a board, especially with all the cards I've been talking about that keep coming back onto the battlefield. Really, really good. Then we've got a selection there, haven't we? I thought there was another one. I'm just wrong. But this is a really good selection of cards that sacrifice themselves or can sacrifice our creatures for an effect. And that takes me on to number 3. And at number 3, well, let's put some good creatures into play. And Olrund, God of the Cosmos, is one of my favourites. And it's a legendary, so can we return it with Loyal Retainers. 5-mana 1/1, but it gets 1/1 plus 1/1 for each card in your hand and each foretold card you own in exile. Sorry, my mind went completely blank there. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type. Reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put all cards of the chosen type into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Ooh. Really, really good card advantage. And if you're really building around this commander, you're going to be putting maybe like all of your creatures in there or something like that. So you'll have a good idea of what you're going to be getting. Alternatively, the backside of Olrund is Haka, Whispering Raven. 2-mana for a 2/3 flying bird. So you can cast either half of this from the command zone, but not command zone, from your hand. But this is good because when it deals combat damage to a player, return to its owner's hand and then scry 2. So it's a nice evasive threat. Maybe your opponents are, just moving my microphone. Maybe your opponents are moving my microphone. Tell them to stop. But maybe, you've got a Planeswalker you're playing against. This can fly in, bounce back, scry 2, and then we can put it into play with Olrund. Very nice. Then another legend that you might want to put into play, although this card is very expensive. Rasputin Dreamweaver, 6-mana 4/1. Hey. But it enters the battlefield with 7 dream counters upon it. Remove a dream counter from Rasputin. Add a generic to your mana pool. Remove a dream counter from Rasputin. Prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to Rasputin this turn. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if Rasputin started the turn untapped, put a dream counter on it. It can't have more than 7 dream counters on it. An absolute wall of text. But the ability to, make 7 mana, possibly we're putting this in for free and then we can make 7 mana straight away. this just leads to a massive amount of things that we can get. And then Recruiter of the Guard to polish off this section. 3 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with toughness 2 or less. Hey! Considering we're playing everything with 1 toughness, well, this is fantastic. And guess what? It has 1 toughness. So if this dies, we can put something in. Oh, just so good. So there you go. Some cards that I'd consider in the deck. And that takes me on to number 2. And at number 2, we've got some good enter the battlefield style effects here. An Obscura Interceptor is phenomenal. 4 mana for a flash lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. When it connives, this way, return up to 1 target spell to its owner's hand. So to connive, you draw a card and discard a card, and then if you discard an online card, you get a +1/+1. I don't know, there's loads of words there. But it's a fantastic card, really helps control the battlefield, and it's got 1 toughness. There we go, fits the theme magnificently. Then we've got a Necrotl, a classic, 4 mana for a 2/1 with first strike. When it's the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. That creature can't be regenerated. Ooh, wonderful. Controlling the board with our creatures entering the battlefield. And, you know, these colours that we're playing, blue, white, and black, absolutely fantastic for flickering. So if you wanted to go down a flicker sort of route, it'd work really well in this deck. Then we got the Draining Whelk, 6 mana for a 1/1 flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, counter target spell. Put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So this is a 1/1 base, so it can come in from sacrificing one of our 1/1s or 3/1s or 7/1s or something 1. But this is a great card to see. Is it all that powerful? Probably not. But, you know, you could set up some really cool plays with it. And you could, you know, work with your teammates. Well, your team, they won't be your teammates forever because they need to die. But, you know, you can make a team and say, hey, I'm going to whelk him. And then kill them afterwards. Then we got the Vindictive Lich. 4 mana for a 4/1. When it dies, choose 1 or more. Each mode must target a different player. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Target opponent loses 5 life. This is wonderful. So many different uses for it. And it's a 4/1, so it fits the 1 toughness theme. Can have a drink from my small cup. Delicious. And there we go. We've got a nice selection there. Another group of 1 toughness individuals. But I've focused more on the sort of disruptive elements here. And that takes me on to number 1. And our commander, Bane, with the big mask. I'm not going to do the voice again. I don't think it was very good. But Bane cares about you having half of your life total. So, Torgar Famine Incarnate is an 8 mana 7/6 which fits into this style of play. There's additional cost to cast this spell. You may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. So there we go. There's a way to sacrifice our creatures. And when it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target player's life total becomes half their starting life total rounded down. Hey, it fits literally everything this deck wants to be doing. We can target ourselves, or if we're going in for lethal, we can target one of our opponents. And for potentially just 2 black and sacrificing 3 creatures. This card works astonishingly well in the deck, and I love it. Another way of halving your life total is a 1 toughness creature in Ebonblade Reaper. 3 mana, when it attacks, you lose half your life rounded up. Hey, there we go. Massive downside, I'm not going to lie. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half his or life total, rounded up. So there you go, we can use this against our opponent. And the cool thing is this card has morph, so you can play it face down for 3 generic mana, and then flip it up for 5 mana. Oh. So what you can do with this, if you don't want to lose half your life total, at least the first time you attack, you play it face down, you attack, then you unmorph it in the middle of combat. So then hopefully our opponent doesn't block, or they can't block, and then they lose their half their life total. Hey, fits well in the deck. Then we've got a Cruel Bargain. 3 black, sorcery, draw 4 cards. Nah, that's pretty good. However, you lose half your life total, rounded up. Well, it's one way to make our commander indestructible, isn't it? And drawing cards is always fantastic. And look at that artwork. Brilliant. Then we've got the Garza's Assassin. Is it Garza's? I don't know. 3 black for a 2/2. Sacrifice it, destroy target non-black creature. But the recover mechanic is where it is. Pay half your life rounded up. When another creature is pumped into your graveyard from play, you may pay half your life total rounded up. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand, otherwise remove the card from the game. Recover, probably a mechanic you've never seen because it's not very good, but here it works really well in the deck. So I definitely consider this. Nice bit of removal, nice bit of halving your life total, all good. And that takes me on to Fraying Omnipotence. A nice sort of surround destruction spell for everything. 5 mana for a sorcery. Each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the creatures they control. Round up each time. Really nice way of controlling the board. We're going to get a ton of triggers off this from sacrificing all the creatures. We're losing half our life to our commander's now indestructible. It works in every way for the deck. Then there's Doomsday. 3 mana. This is more of a combo card, and we're playing blue. We can probably come up with some combos for this. Search your library and graveyard for 5 cards and exile the rest. Put the chosen cards on the top of your library in any order. You lose half your life, round it up. So there you go. A really big way of making it so that your commander has indestructible. And then a slightly different take on it is Phyrexian Processor. 4 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, pay any amount of life. So you can pay down, so you only have 20 life. And then you can pay 4 and tap it to put an XX black minion creature token into the battlefield, where X is the life paid as it entered the battlefield. So a repeatable massive threat, and also a way of getting your life total all the way down to the bottom. And there you go, having your life total so your commander can attack for free. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you liked it. If you didn't, why are you still here? Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.